The pitch is presented by Knowledge Success and supported by USAID and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The competition that's transforming how we think of knowledge management in family planning and reproductive health is back. This is The Pitch, a continental competition looking for the next knowledge management innovation in family planning and reproductive health. From over 80 applications from around the world, 5 were chosen as semifinalists from Asia. With just 3 minutes to deliver their pitches, they will be under pressure to convince our judges to fund their innovations. Last season, we saw amazing innovations that focused on data for decision-making and creating online country-specific platforms for family planning and reproductive health. Ultimately, 2 pitches were awarded a total of $100,000 to fund their ideas. Jipaigo, India created FP Connect, a centralized knowledge management system to collect, organize, and house family planning and reproductive health resources. Safe Delivery, Safe Mother in Pakistan conducted data analysis trainings with the government and postpartum family planning trainings with skilled birth attendants. This season, we've invited organizations to submit innovations that address knowledge management challenges in their region or country, such as youth or COVID-19. A total of 4 winners, 2 from Africa and 2 from Asia, will be selected as our knowledge management champion innovators. In addition to these 4 organizations, a 5th award will go to a winning pitch of the judge's choice. The 5th innovation can come from either region. Will it be awarded in this episode? Keep watching to find out. Determining who will win an award of up to $50,000, let's meet our 5 expert judges. Gertrude Odizugu is a Senior Reproductive Health Manager at USAID, Nigeria. Eric Bernardo is President of the Philippine Society of SRH Nurses and Philippines FP 2030 Youth Focal Point. Emily Mangoni is a Program Officer for Optimized Family Planning Programs at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dr. Tara Sullivan is the Project Director of Knowledge Success at the Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs. Daudu Idrisu is the Country Liaison Associate for Benin, Togo, and Mauritania with the Ouagadougou Partnership. The stakes are high. Who has what it takes to be one of the next knowledge management champion innovators? Hello, I'm your host, Grace Gayoso from Knowledge Success. We're back for the Pitch Season 2 with a focus on new themes and innovations. Before we meet our semifinalists, let's hear from the judges about what excites them for this competition.
What excites me about the pitch competition is all of the creative, wonderful ideas that our semifinalists are going to come up with and how they're anchoring them to family planning programs in their countries. Beyond that, I'm really excited to hear how they'll be talking about how these will be sustainable over time.
The pitch competition has created an environment in which creativity, collaboration, and competition intersect. And this, I think, is the perfect environment in which to foster innovation around family planning knowledge management. There were so many imaginative concepts pitched in the first round. And I loved how contestants came at these knowledge management ideas with such different approaches, perspectives, and lived experiences. I'm really excited to see participants breathe life into those final pitches and for them to share innovations on the collection, curation, and activation of knowledge.
What I'm excited most about this the pitch competition is that there are a lot of innovations on family planning and reproductive health all around the world, and I can't wait to hear how this organizations came up with these innovations. And I'm sure that this would give them not just the opportunity to share to everyone else their great idea, but also learn from each other. So I think having this competition would not only give them the opportunity to share their idea and eventually create a community of practice that everyone else can replicate in their own countries or communities.
Thank you, judges. And now it's time for us to meet our first semifinalist.
Hello, my name is Ramchandra Gaihre and I am a person with visual impairment. Also, the founder and General Secretary of Blind Youth Association Nepal. We are youth-led organization of persons with disability working to promote SRHR and FP services for people with different disabilities. Like all human beings, we, people with disability, have a similar SRHR rights and FP needs and family dreams. But these dreams are often unrealized and unmet. Lack of accessibility, ignorance, stigma, and judgmental behaviors are further worsening the situation. We, through the KM innovation, would like to bridge the gap by developing a guideline on disability inclusive SRHR and FP services. Nepal's constitution seems very progressive with inclusive principles, where various laws and policies are now in place. However, this seems failure to incorporate disability issues as it was designed without our consultations. Thus, this KM innovation GIRDS guideline will bridge the gap to promote disability inclusive RH and FP services. GIRDS is designed with the principle of nothing about us without us, where we will be developing these guidelines with the involvement of various cross-disability organizations and experts, as we all are the group of target group itself. Various blind, deaf, physical disability, and the parents and the guardians of people with intellectual and learning disabilities will be engaged in the process. The guideline will further produce knowledge on accessibility, various standards, methods, and process to guide on disability inclusive SRHR and FP services. The total cost for this project will be $50,000, where about 70% of the budget will be used on training, orientation, capacity development, and follow-up activities. Thus, as Nepal government is very promising to execute this and they are seeking our expertise to develop this, they are truly relying and seeking our service to develop this. Thus, we would like to request to our judges to think from inclusive lens to support this movement by investing on this sustainable knowledge product. And if we lose this opportunity, then the capacity of the disability inclusive SRHR sector remain as it is and inclusion just remain in the paper. So judges, us, government, everyone is ready. So let's create an opportunity to make the rights real.
Wonderful pitch. Let's hear some questions from our judges.
What a great presentation. I'm Emily from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I wanted to ask a little bit about sort of the scope of people with disabilities and the guidelines. I really love this inclusive approach. And I'm wondering, I know you represent the Blind Youth Association. I'm wondering what other types of disabilities, and with these guidelines, you know, how would they be responsive to different needs, right? There's visual impairment, deaf, mental, physical. So I'm wondering sort of how to wrap that up into one package and what your design process will look like.
Yes, definitely. This KM innovation will be led by us, but it will not be obviously a single-led innovation, because we have a prior experience working in collaboration with other cross-disability organizations. If I may allow to show you some of the things, like in our prior experience, though we are primarily focused on the blind youth, now we have strong experience working in cross-disability organizations involving different disability. For example, physical disability, people with deaf and hard of hearing, people with learning disability like autism, intellectual disability, and so on. So we have a prior experience of working in collaboration with those organizations, and we have a sort of memorandum of understanding. Whenever we, Blind Youth Association, design any inclusive RH and FP related programs, their expertise will be highly counted. Administratively, we will channelize the fund if we get success, but there will be technical team will be in place who will provide these technical knowledge. Being a blind person, I myself I never know what sign language works, but I know that that is important. That's why we'll have a kind of technical team with cross disability organizations representative who will sit in a team and bring the perspectives. Like last time, what we did through some of the innovative project was, this is the government's document. I don't know whether you are able to see this or not. Sorry for my
yes, you can see.
But then this is the government document. Content-wise, it talks everything about family planning services. But none of the people with a disability could access those things unless we design this in a large print. Same content, but if I read like this, I can see this. And if there is a total blind person, then they can feel this, how the IUD looks like, how the copper T shapes like this. And same thing were also developed in a video with the sign language. So with this confidence, we are proposing to have a heavy engagement of those disability organizations in the project.
Thank you.
Je me nomme Daoud Idrissou, je travaille pour l'unité de coordination du partenariat de Ouagadougou. Ma question s'inscrit effectivement dans la dernière question pour voir comment vous pensez opérationnaliser, en fait garantir la mise en œuvre. Nous savons que beaucoup de directives sont toujours élaborées, mais leur mise en œuvre pose problème. Voilà, comment vous pensez vous garantir, faciliter la mise en œuvre?
That's a very important question, and when we designed this project, we are also thinking of that. But then we had a very much encouragement and motivation to develop this, because it is the government of Nepal Family Welfare Division who are approaching us to develop this with our expertise, and they have already approved our approach, as we had a prior experience of designing several such accessible products. On top of that, this guideline not just be developed and remain in the paper. Before that, there will be multiple provincial level workshops will be organized by engaging from the people with disability community, the organization of persons with disabilities, and the government health centers. Local government authority who are looking after the health units will be also invited there, and the Ministry of Health and Population will approve the guideline. Besides that, we also propose some follow-up activities on what things are in guideline and how health centers can utilize that. So more than 350 government decision levels health unit will be invited in the training program with some follow-up activities, plus at least 175 different disability representatives will be included in the direct training and consultation process. So we are very much close to the confidence that this will develop and endorse, because such kind of documents will be the first of its kinds in Nepali health system, and it will be very highly recognized because it will not just developed by the SRHR experts or disability experts. So this will be the outcome of the combination of both sides. So we are very much confident, and government is promising, because law has mandated them to develop this anyway. And now the current team of Family Welfare Division, who are the focal person to endorse this guideline, are very, very aware and sensitized because of our long-term partnership with them. That's why we want to cast this opportunity. Thank you.
Let's hear it for our first semifinalist. Will they be the next knowledge management champion? Stay tuned.
Hello, I am Upendra Aryal, the Executive Director for Digital Broadcast Initiative Equal Access in Nepal. Over the past 3 decades, 52,000 female community health volunteers, FCSBs, in South Asian region nation of Nepal have been actively working in hard-to-reach areas of communities for basic health care, serving a total population of about 30 million across the country. Services and counseling regarding family planning and reproductive health remains unmet to a significant percentage of adolescents and youth. FCSBs at the grassroots level need to address these demands every day, but are only occasionally trained in dealing with topics like early childhood marriage, menstrual hygiene, contraceptive choices, gender including LGBTIQ, disability, HIV and AIDS, infertility, etc. In this context, DVIEA proposes to equip them with an interactive Android app and IVR to counteract their other FPRH educational materials like flip charts and posters that can be very cumbersome. DVIEA in Kathmandu presents to the Peach Consortium its innovation as an appropriate solution called eSevika. Sevika means female health service providers in Nepal. Using interactive voice response, IVR, messenger chatbot, and an Android app, we will target world-level FCHBs, providing relevant, useful, and accessible FPRH information through their mobile phones every time new content is uploaded to the app. And the FCHBs will get an immediate notification through SMS Viber. The app will include 16 interesting and useful audio podcasts of about 8 minutes each on various FPRH topics, narrated by experienced medical doctors in the field of FPRH. FCSBs will also receive responses to their frequently asked questions, FAQs, from male and female technical experts in the chatbot. It will also include multimedia graphics and illustrative educational materials DVIEA has produced through other past projects. Through eSevika, FCSBs will learn vital and urgent information from seasoned and prominent resource persons. The data received from this platform, including demographic data of users and frequently asked questions, will be shared among other stakeholders, including government and INGOs engaged in FP and RH and civil societies. We are committed to sustaining eSevika by periodically posting new materials in the form of podcasts and FPRS digital materials, even after the formal closure of the project. The FCSB community will be significantly resourceful and their network will be established to a wider community because of eSevika. Of the $42,598 requested from the Peach competition, 80% of the cost is for the app development, IVR, chatbot setup, and podcast creation. Because of increasing penetration of cellular phones with internet and our experience here, DVIEA would like to equip Nepalese FCSBs with this digital tool. Thank you.
And now let's go to the Q&A.
Hi everyone, this is Eric Bernardo from the Philippine Society of SRH Nurses and the Philippines FP 2030 Youth Focal Point. So thank you very much for that presentation from DBI. My only question is, how do we aim to reach those who don't have access to technology? Because I know this is an interactive app, an Android app for that particular matter, but we know for a fact that there is this concept of digital divide, wherein there are some areas which don't have access to such technology. How do we plan to address that? Thank you.
Yes, the connectivity is gradually growing. It's getting better and better. That is true for one matter of fact. And next is the IVR we have proposed here is, so once they switch the number, so through IVR, they get the message in the forms of podcast, in the forms of those frequently asked questions. So we have IVR there. So these apps also can be offline solution for them. So mostly, so we have chosen IVR because FCSB are until up to the age of 65. So even the digital divide chance is there. So we have carefully, because we had worked for early grade reading before, so we have faced similar difficulty. We are very much careful on that.
Thank you so much, DBIEA. I would like to ask, so right now the FCHVs, their reach is about 30 million people. So what percentage of the population in Nepal is that? With this digital technology, are they going to continue reaching the 30 million, or is there a plan to expand that? I think that will be relative to the population, in Nepal. And I think my second question, just following that, is you have mentioned while you were speaking, I think that this information will be distributed to government officials, professionals, and all that. But I'm curious to know, how do you monitor ease of use, and then eventual impacts. What data systems do you plan to put in place to be able to ensure that you're getting what you intended to get? Over.
Another your question is the chatbot that produces data in itself, and the IVR has infographics output produced at the end. So we are very much carefully trying to get data, and there is no such system because we work closely with DOHS, the department, and MOHP for other health regions. Like we have program in NTD, we have program in 1000 Golden Days Motherhood. So with all these, we have good database of the FCHGs, and we will be definitely not missing database or the data that we very much share during our content advisory meetings that we organize very often.
Can you talk about experience that you have already developing the content and the technology? And then the second piece of the question is, what kind of connection do you have with these 52,000 female community health workers? Once you build the technology, what's the guarantee that it will actually be used? How will you make sure that you haven't just built something that just sits out there? Thank you.
Emily, we are already in 42 districts with 1000 days motherhood projects called Good Nutrition. So we have the database for those 52 districts. Of those FCHBs, number one. Number two, with IVR, we have deployed for other many projects. We have to switch that technology to them. And thirdly, on the podcast or the content for them, these 8 resource persons that we have projected, these are quite prominent FPRH experts whom we very often interview all the time, and we have weekly radio show whom we like. Tomorrow is World Cancer Day. We are having a live radio show on World Cancer Day. So like that, we have very many other family planning and RH and other days where we celebrate. So we have these people in place where we can get the content.
What an amazing pitch. Will it be enough to convince our judges? Keep watching as we're joined by our next semi-finalist.
Hello everyone, my name is Sanghamitra Singh and I am representing the Population Foundation of India, an Indian non-profit organization working towards the effective formulation and implementation of gender-sensitive health strategies and policies. In addition to our work with the national and state governments, civil society organizations, and research institutions, media is an important stakeholder we engage with on family planning and sexual and reproductive health issues. We recently launched a family planning resource bank in English to provide credible information, research, and evidence to media representatives. The landing page of the microsite, as you can see on slide 1, gives you a glimpse of what the English Family Planning Knowledge Bank looks like. Media representatives can select a state and get details on family planning indicators, as you can see on slide 2. They can choose resources from different categories on the microsite, as you can see on slide 3, such as population growth, data on key family planning indicators, COVID-19, etc. In India, most national media coverage on issues related to family planning and sexual and reproductive health is in English, leaving a vast section of people in Hindi-speaking North Indian states, some of which have very high fertility rates, devoid of this information. Thus, there's an urgent need for a platform that provides verified data and information for reporting in Hindi newspapers, television stations, and digital media platforms. As a solution, we intend to offer our existing knowledge bank in Hindi language for local and regional journalists. The primary costs include microsite development, for which an IT agency's services will be sought, and for the translation of materials into Hindi language. Recurrent maintenance expenses post the development of the microsite, including updating new materials, will be covered by the Population Foundation of India. We will also promote the microsite through our media and partner networks without incurring additional expenses. Therefore, we have the required financial and human resources available to sustain the knowledge bank after its launch. The knowledge bank will act as an important resource for journalists and support them to contextualize and present relevant information for their audiences. Increased awareness among the readers of Hindi dailies and magazines, including decision makers, government officials, service providers, frontline workers, could possibly lead to an increased uptake of family planning and sexual and reproductive health services. At the same time, access and exposure to information will create more informed citizens, community groups, civil society organizations, service providers, and decision makers. I request the judges to support our initiative through this award. Thank you.
Time for the Q&A. Judges, let's hear your thoughts.
La population va utiliser ces journaux parce qu'en fait, une chose est de produire l'information. Et est-ce qu'il y a un mécanisme derrière qui permettra de s'assurer que ces informations sont utilisées et que ça a un impact sur le changement de comportement de la population?
Thank you. That's a very good question. It's also a very long-term question. I think the reason why we are targeting regional journalists is because, like I mentioned in my pitch as well, because the Hindi-speaking belt in the country right now in India, it also includes some of the most high fertility states and some of the most backward states in the country right now. So that's why instead of targeting the people directly or audiences directly, we are targeting regional journalists because most of the population in these states, they are accessing and reading leading dailies. And there's a major gap in information on family planning and sexual and reproductive health in regional languages, and including Hindi language. Most of the information and data and research that is published on family planning and sexual reproductive health in India is largely on English platforms in English papers. That's why we are targeting regional journalists. Like I said earlier, we do have a media strategy as part of our organizational engagement. So we will definitely leverage our existing networks and our media partner to help connect with local regional journalists to also promote the microsite and its usage among this population. And I think behavior change is something that we also work on. It's another vertical of our work. Having said that, it's not something that happens in short term. It requires sustained efforts over a prolonged period of time and reinforcement of positive messages for it to eventually happen in the long run. And I think this is one strategy that we are employing among several other efforts that we are making as part of our existing programs in the organization to inculcate a greater understanding and sensitization around family planning and sexual and reproductive health issues in the country.
I really liked your attention to sustainability. I thought that was a really important point. But I wanted to know, I want to know a little bit more about how you envision using the funds, because what I heard is that you'll put up a microsite and you will translate the content of the current knowledge database. And so I'm wondering, is there anything else that you plan to do? Is there any, touching on content? It sounded like your organization would cover sort of the marketing and promotion around that. So I was just wondering if there are any other aspects to the for how you would use the grant. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, the main objective of us seeking the funds is to create a microsite in Hindi based on the existing English version. Having said that, since this is a very dynamic platform which needs to be updated with new information as and when it's coming along, I think the translation would also be accompanied with research. Which would be then used to build on the content for this microsite, which is really recent and which is building on relatively newer evidence. Sorry, can you repeat the second part of your question?
So actually, I think you've answered it. It was more about understanding the content, whether you'd be changing content and how you'd be using those funds.
Right. Just one more thing I'd like to add here. We are also planning on making the microsite more interactive for the journalists. So we do envision creating a platform where we are not just providing information, one-sided information, but journalists can actually send out specific queries based on the information that they've accessed, and our research team can then sort of answer their questions beyond what we are offering on the microsite right now. So we do want to build a more iterative platform going forward.
Impressive points, but were our judges impressed? We'll find out soon. Let's see what our next semi-finalist is bringing to the table.
For over 5 years, RedOrange has been hosting ShareNet Bangladesh, the largest SRHR knowledge sharing platform in the country. We have connected over 150 organizations and 1,200 individuals in a network that has thrived with rich and high quality knowledge products in SRHR. ShareNet Bangladesh has become the ideal platform for academicians, researchers, and program experts in the field of SRHR. But due to its academic nature, hands-on, easily comprehensible content generation is an area that needs exploration. Because we have found a lack of participation from field-level facilitators and operators, along with government professionals in the field of SRHR. We plan to bridge this gap with easy-to-understand and linguistically coherent information. We call this knowledge management innovation ShareNet Bangladesh 2.0. ShareNet Bangladesh 2.0 is a knowledge management innovation that will revamp the ShareNet Bangladesh website and app with added features that will steer more attention towards non-academic field-level professionals. To make this knowledge management innovation work in both private and public sectors, we will bring on board the Directorate General of Family Planning, Government of Bangladesh. The added features will be as follows: a bilingual on-site user interface and searchability of simplified knowledge products such as academic journals, policy briefs, technical documents, English-only documents, and audiovisual content, easy accessibility with low internet bandwidth, bilingual mobile app to be available on both Android and iOS, search engine optimization, and finally, a contact directory of SRHR service providers and organizations from the local government agencies, clinics, NGOs, and medical practitioners. The success of ShareNet Bangladesh 2.0 will depend on the following: increased membership of family planning and reproductive health professionals in the ShareNet Bangladesh network, increased participation of government family planning and reproductive health professionals, dissemination of SRHR knowledge to the grassroots professionals, informative understanding of family planning and reproductive health professionals from both the public and private sectors, and finally, creation of tools for comprehensive SRHR professional expertise. We will use the $50,000 to research, develop, optimize, and disseminate the innovative solution, as well as train a sample size of professionals on using the tools. Long-term marketing and sustainability will be ensured through RedOrange and ShareNet, at least until 2024, and beyond as long as the project funding continues. Let's take ShareNet Bangladesh 2.0 to the professionals who matter.
Nice work. Judges, do you have any questions?
I have two questions. What cadre of professionals are you planning to train, on how to use the tool? And a follow-on is, okay, the tool is now used by professionals, and so what?
The section of professionals that we are targeting are government employees who are directly working at the field level with common people and delivering, public health interventions or SRHR interventions on behalf of the government. These are hospital workers, these are door-to-door field facilitators who are directly working for local NGOs and at the same time the government agencies. So the reason why we are confident about reaching out to them and why we thought that they should be included is because we have a very strong tie with the Directorate General of Family Planning by the government of Bangladesh. So what we do is that we are helping the government as we speak on trying to break the social norms and come out of the shell of what is socially appropriate when it comes to SRHR, and we are trying out all kinds of innovative ways to get the message across the floor to common people and practitioners at the same time. But the reason why ShareNet 2.0 must become a reality is because ShareNet is successful with academicians who are theoretically sound, university students, liberal arts students, social science students who want to explore the world of SRHR and want to contribute with research, grant applicants. So this is a very expertized area where all the papers published and content are at the theory level or at the academic level. But when we talk about Bangladeshi grassroots level workers in distant part of the country or villages, we basically have seen that there's a huge gap between the translation of those knowledge products or knowledge platform into simplified content, which can be website posts or small videos or infographics, from where the new research and innovations and best practices, those are staying away from the field level professionals. And quite frankly, they don't have much time because they start early in the morning. They have to cover many households in one village, and then they have their other priorities. So this initiative also gives us a different idea. Gives us the capacity to change the idea of how SRHR should be seen. So in our country, it is actually family planning professionals and then reproductive health professionals. But that, though both these components are within SRHR, and that SRHR is the ideal umbrella term that we need to understand first, and then it only goes on to other different areas, that it covers everything. Those simple ideas and narratives will be overwritten, and we will be able to give them a newer perspective. Also, in order to have a good communities of practice or a collection of communities of practice, ShareNet requires people to understand the changes that we're going through, that we're trying to advocate. So I think this whole simplifying gap that is there between academics and students of SRHR and the field level professionals who are not even SRHR experts. They are normal people who pass a certain civil service recruitment exam, they get the job, and then they just follow the professional code. So this would also be included into their capacity development. So they will be more sensitized, they will know more, they will be up to date with the best practices in SRHR, and they will also try to, they can also become agents to fight taboo, that SRHR basically involves everyone and not just, married couples or say, these societal norms and everything. So it will help them sort of relax those hardline notions and embrace the best practices.
Thank you. I'm Tara Sullivan with the Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs. Thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate the innovation from the perspective of the gap that I see it could fulfill in terms of the academics, and then you're talking about people working the field level professionals. My question to you is that sometimes you can create something on an online platform, but it's not assured that if you build it, people will come to it. So my question is, how will you work with your intended audience to co-design this so that you can ensure that there will be the demand for this product that you envision?
Thank you very much for the question. Already the necessity to transform or give an extended transformation to ShareNet Bangladesh resulted from its wide outreach when it comes to stakeholders. So we have over 150 organizational members and 1,200 individual members. So when we looked into our membership base, what we saw is we have private universities, we have government agencies, we have NGOs, we have hospitals. So all kinds of social actors have come together to help us have this common platform for SRHR. That's number one issue. The second is that since we have strong ties with the government through the Director General of Family Planning, who are also very much reliant on our organization RedOrange to create content for them and animations and outreach events, especially during the pandemic, since in-person workshops are quite difficult in our country now. So visuals, audiovisuals work. We know that being able to reach out to stakeholders is going to be the least difficult task. In fact, they're just one call away, and we are always in good terms with our stakeholders. So that technicality is taken care of.
This competition is so close. Who will be one of our knowledge management champion innovators? Only one pitch remains.
Namaste, my name is Manisha Thapa and I represent Visible Impact from Nepal. Established in 2015, Visible Impact is a young women-led organization primarily working on sexual and reproductive health and rights. I am a recent public health graduate, and as part of the requirement of ambassador level curriculum, plus my dire interest in studying how the COVID-19 pandemic had impacted the sexual and reproductive health status of young people at my municipality, I conducted a research study on COVID 19 and its impacts on young people. I completed this study only to find out that my research report would just be sidelined, piled up against other reports at the college library, and ignored. Sadly, this case is common to all health sciences students in Nepal who conduct research. Nursing and public health faculties of 3 universities of Nepal roughly graduate around 5,000 students every year who perform their curriculum based thesis works. The Nepal Health Research Council, which regulates health research studies, has prioritized reproductive health as one of their 12 priority areas, and family planning and reproductive health has increasingly been an area of immense interest of many students throughout the country. Yet, the findings and recommendations generated through their research are not being acknowledged or used in programmatic or policy decisions. Through Research Bank for Action, we aim to address this gap by collecting nursing and public health programs, bachelor's and master's level academic research on family planning reproductive health from 3 universities and their affiliated colleges, analyzing and segregating the findings and recommendations, disseminating recommendation papers hence generated among relevant CSOs, government bodies working at the local, provincial, and national levels, and regularly following up on them to ensure action. This really crucial yet still undone innovation is anticipated to cost $50,000, with more than 90% of the amount being direct cost for implementation, including the collection of research reports, synthesis, and dissemination of recommendation papers. If left unimplemented, important family planning and reproductive health evidence will still end up ignored and at college libraries. As a fresh graduate myself who understands the difference this single project could make in boosting the motivation of young researchers in FP and RH in Nepal, I request the jury to help us move forward with this idea. Visible Impact will make sure that this will be an ongoing activity of the organization post the implementation period, as we have planned to recruit provincial research bank volunteers every year and sign MOU with universities, which will ensure the perpetual functioning of Research Bank for Action. Thank you.
A round of applause for our fifth semi-finalist. Time for our final Q&A segment. Okay, judges, over to you.
I'm just wondering, how do we plan to measure impact of the collection that we're doing? How do we ensure that the targeted nursing students or public health students who would do researches on FP and RH would access the platform that we're proposing? Thank you.
Okay, so to measure the impact, we have incorporated 3 indicators. So the first one is the number of research reports that we will collect and compile. The second is number of recommendations that will be disseminated among the stakeholders, that will include CSOs as well as government bodies at the local, provincial, and national level. And lastly, and this will be the most important one. So the last indicator is a sort of qualitative kind of indicator. So in this, for the first phase of the implementation, we will take into account or review the positive responses and the commitments ensured by the stakeholders, that is the CSOs and the government bodies. So how positive they are or how committed they will be in incorporating the recommendations that will be compiled from the research studies of the students. So how positive or how committed how much commitment they show to us on incorporating those recommendations into the new plans or policies or programs that they will be designing in this area.
I really love your innovation, and I love that your intent is to get research that's not being used, get put into practice, and drawing those recommendations from the research that's been lying unused. My question follows on from an earlier question. I just want to understand a little bit more How are you going to package those recommendations, and then how are you going to disseminate them or share them with your stakeholders so that that important information is disseminated to them? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. So, first of all, we will be collecting and compiling the recommendations that are generated via the research studies that students have conducted. So they after that's compiled and made into a finalized recommendation paper. So the final output will be the final paper will be called the recommendation paper, and we will be disseminating those via both online and in-person or offline mediums. So for online dissemination, we will be using our emails as well as the website of Visible Impact itself, and we will be disseminating to so actually we have been working in collaborating and coordinating with many CSOs in Nepal that are working in this particular area. So we will be disseminating online to them, and we will also be incorporating the accessibility factor in this because we have been always taking into account the for example, for people with disabilities, we will be making audio form of dissemination, as well as we have been using braille and larger fonts for those who find it difficult to access those. So this will be best in the online medium, whereas while doing the provincial meetings with colleges and universities, as well as with the government officials and CSOs, we will be disseminating those so in person as well.
Thank you to all the semi-finalists for sharing their exciting knowledge management innovations. It's clear that any one of these ideas would help to improve family planning and reproductive health programming. The judges now have a hard decision to make: which knowledge management innovation should be funded. I'd like to ask our esteemed judge, Tara Sullivan, to share with us what the panel of judges have decided. Who are the final knowledge management champion innovators?
Our winners of the pitch competition are the Blind Youth Association of Nepal. We have chosen the Blind Youth Association of Nepal because we love the focus of their innovation on inclusion and equity. It is cross-disability, and it's really designed with the users. So it will be designed with people with disabilities, co-designed with the government. Given that it will be co-designed with the government, we know that it will bode well for sustainability, and that will help to drive implementation. We also love that this is a youth-led initiative.
I am a born blind person, and the challenges, stigma, discrimination that I have faced in my entire life is the result of this organization. It's not only me, similar youth who face the similar type of differences, discrimination, challenges, and stigma has resulted. So we are very much these movement-driven and right-based advocates. And as I said, this innovation and this existence of our organization is in the basis, the principle of nothing about us without us. That means if something has to be done, our involvement, our consultation is very much important.
And our second winner is the Population Foundation of India. We love their innovation of the Hindi language, family planning, sexual and reproductive health knowledge bank. So what excites us about this innovation is that it speaks to accessibility and inclusion by ensuring that Hindi speakers have access to the family planning and reproductive health knowledge that they need through media channels. We also love that it's building on an existing system, so that bodes well for sustainability. And we feel that the translation to the local language of Hindi is innovative in that it brings access to a large population of Hindi-speaking folks. We also love that the work will be accessible because the microsite will be mobile friendly, which will make it easy to use.
there would definitely be a sense of achievement at a personal level, but I've also been working in this space for a really long time. And we are trying to fill in a very, very important gap for journalists and for that section of media which is often not recognized for the work that they do and the voices they reach, especially in communities. So there will be this sense of achievement, but also this excitement that we can finally do something to cater to that section of media, which is truly reflecting the voices of citizens in the country.
Congratulations to our knowledge management champion innovators. We can't wait to see these innovations come to life and how it will impact family planning and reproductive health programming in the Asia Pacific. We'd like to express our deepest gratitude to all of our semi-finalists for all the effort that they have put forward in developing their pitches. All the innovations that were shared today can be found at the Knowledge Success website at knowledgesuccess.org. And we'd also like to thank our judges for their thoughtful deliberation and time. We know that we didn't ask them to make an easy decision. And finally, our sincerest thanks to our semi-finalists, the judges, and you, our listeners, for your continued dedication to the family planning and reproductive health field. You are making a difference.